Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham Blog and to another Tottenham transfer roundup, where today we're going to talk about the deal that has seen Tottenham sign Udinese left wing-back Destiny Udogie. We look at Tottenham's rejected bid for Nicolo Zaniolo and the latest rumours on Memphis Depay very quickly, because there's not much to talk about. We'll also look at outgoings, where there has been a lot of developments on the futures of Giovani Lo Celso, Tanguy Ndombele and Bryan, and in the last hour or so, a potential move for Harry Winks. So do stick around for that one. If you are new to the channel, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to be kept right up to date with all of Tottenham's transfer business for the rest of this summer transfer window. And look, let's dive straight into it and let's talk about this man, about Destiny Udogie, who, barring an official announcement, we're only awaiting the official announcement, is set to be a Tottenham Hotspur player. Fabrizio Romano tweeted a couple of days ago, Destiny Udogie to Tottenham, here we go. A full agreement has been reached with Udinese for more than €20 million after personal terms were in place. So the personal terms with the player were agreed before we came to a complete agreement with Udinese on that fee. As Romano says, he will stay there on loan. And we knew that from the very start when these rumours first came out. The whole way through, we knew that Udogie was going to be returning to his parent club, Udinese, for a one-year loan deal. He was on loan there last year from Hellas Verona. They completed that move and made it permanent at the beginning of this summer, either on an option or an obligation to buy. At the end of that loan deal, he's going to have another season at Udinese on loan again, but from another club. This time it will be Spurs. Romano said that Tottenham are prepared to schedule medical tests for the player in the next few days. Udogie will sign a 5-year contract at Tottenham, so a very long-term deal for the 19-year-old left wing-back coming into Spurs. And like I said the other day, I know we have other positions that we would rather address in the... I always do that. That we'd rather address in the immediate future, but Udogie is a player for the future. We're planning ahead for the future. We're planning for... Personally, I think we're planning for Perisic's departure in a year or two. We're bringing in a player who's held in very, very high regard in Italy. And this is, I think, is a deal that is similar to probably the Romero one and the Bryan Hill one that we got done last summer, where we know there was going to be bigger teams in the mix for Udogie. And Juventus are a team who were very, very keen on trying to complete a deal for the Italian to move to Turin. But Tottenham went in, they got this deal done quickly. We didn't exactly get it done early, but when we went in there, we were very quick in our negotiations, and inside of Italy is held in high regard, and that certainly is the case in N17 as well. Romano has also said that Fabio Paratici and Antonio Conte are in love with Destiny Udogie. They're convinced he could be the future of the club, and that future is set to be agreed and finalised and completed very, very soon, with Udogie putting pen to paper, as he said, on a 5-year contract. About the medical, Standard Sport have said that Tottenham are planning for Udogie to undergo his medical in Italy as they make progress in their deal to sign the Italian. So he will not be travelling to Hotspur Way to complete the medical or to sign contracts or anything like that. He was actually excluded from Udinese's squad for their pre-season game last Friday, but with the Serie A starting this week, I think it's in the best interest of the player and of the selling club that he stays in Italy and continues his preparations for what will hopefully be a fantastic season for him, and hopefully a good one for Udinese as well, because success for them means success for him. And again, clever deal from Spurs. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. As Dark Wolf says, everyone like the stream. Good to see so many people in here as well. We got Christopher W and Pourav Bat, channel members. Thank you very much for tuning in. And everyone seems to want to talk about Nicolo Zaniolo the whole way through. Everyone wants to know about Zaniolo. Look, we will go into that. We'll probably discuss in some length the future of Nicolo Zaniolo, and the latest news from Gary Jacob is that Tottenham have had a loan offer with a £20 million obligation to buy rejected for Nicolo Zaniolo. So Tottenham, we know, have a very strong interest in the player. We know are in talks with Roma, are in talks with the player. Tottenham have had a number of meetings with Roma's sporting director Tiago Pinto to try and get this deal done, including after the friendly we played against Roma in Israel 10 days ago. Zaniolo seems to want the move. Roma seem willing to sell, but only for the right price. I think the price that they are demanding is one potential stumbling block in this deal, and the other is, of course, the Roma manager Jose Mourinho, who definitely will not be planning on doing any favours for his former employers. But I think Tottenham's interest has been kind of made concrete, and we've really registered how serious we are with this by lodging what we believe is our first bid for the player alone, with a £20 million obligation to buy. And it's a very common deal these days. It's very common with the financial fair play rules really catching teams out at the moment because of the lack of income that clubs had during the COVID-19 pandemic, when stadiums were closed and stuff. the amount of money coming in is less, so the amount of money you can spend is less. And looking at the players we brought in under Fabio Paratici already, Christian Romero and Dejan Kulusevski are two players that were alone with an obligation to buy, and Zaniolo, as far as Tottenham are hoping, will be another, but that first bid rejected. And as we were speaking about at the end of last week, the price tag that Roma are asking for the player is a lot more than what Tottenham are willing to pay. It was Ben Jacobs who said there's potentially up to £10 million in a discrepancy between the two clubs' valuation of the attacking midfielder. And I actually put a poll in the chat. If you haven't voted in that yet, please do let me know your thoughts, because I've had a few debates, a few arguments, and I've seen a few others do the same. And what position Zaniolo will actually play if he does come into Spurs. I think earlier on in his career, he was more of a typical number 10. He played quite a bit as a right winger for Roma in the last season or two as well, and some reports suggesting that Antonio Conte would be happy to play him in right wing back as well. Now, for me, I think right wing back is completely out of the question, because we have, of course, Emerson and Matt Doherty, who stayed from last season. We brought in Jed Spence, and Lucas Moura as well in pre-season was played in right wing back, so we already have 4 options back there. I don't think we're going to add a 5th. I can see why some people will be a bit kind of skeptical of the fact that he could be coming in as a number 10, because Antonio Conte typically doesn't play a number 10, and the only one that I can really think of is his last season at Inter Milan when he played that 3-4-1-2. He had Christian Eriksen as the number 10 in there, but aside from that, he prefers to use more balanced midfielders, like a Nemanja Matic when he was at Chelsea, or a Barella in his first season at Inter Milan, or even going back further, and Andrea Pirlo, kind of a deep-lying playmaker during his very successful stint at Juventus as well. So it's not a very typical Conte style player to bring in, but as well he can play out in that right wing, and we've brought in Richarlison as depth. We have Kulusevski, who, not without a shadow of a doubt, has more quality than Zaniolo, and will continue to be a starting choice if we can get Zaniolo over the line. But I think, like Richarlison, if we are to bring in Nicolo Zaniolo, he will have that versatility, and he can play in different positions and offer something a little bit extra to us, but also make the opposition think a little bit more if he's coming on or if he's starting. What exactly is he actually going to be doing? And I'm excited to see what Conte could do with him if a deal is completed. Espen there with the super chat, thank you very much for that, says no talk of a new centre back. Feels like not getting that is what is going to hold us back this season. And it's a confusing one for me as well. I'm not really sure why Tottenham haven't been properly going for another centre-back just yet. We knew all along we were going to get a left-sided centre-back, and Clement Longley has been brought in, I think, fairly transparently as a stopgap. It's a loan deal. There's no option. There's no obligation to buy. In 12 months' time, he will return to Barcelona. That is, if they don't claim his contract is invalid. And then the more reports are coming out that if Tottenham sold Tanganga and or Rodon, that would then make us move for a second centre-back, because we need to keep that depth back there. But by getting rid of a Rodon and maybe bringing in a Bremer, who has obviously been mentioned for a while, not the top level of the Torres and Bastoni and that, but a Milenkovic, as Skim mentions, bringing in someone of that quality, we would keep our depth, but there'd be less of a gap between the starters and the bench players. And now with Rodon gone, Tanganga, his future's still in the air. It doesn't look as though we're actively moving for another centre-back, which is quite confusing to me. But I think if Tanganga goes, we have no choice but to move for another centre-back. The question then just remains, what quality of centre-back will that be? Will Milenkovic still be at Fiorentina? Will we be able to make a bid for him? Or could he have completed a move to Inter Milan by that point? And as for the other targets that are out there, I think with Longley being that stopgap, we have the option of keeping him as a backup in the centre or a backup on the left, so it gives us more of a demographic of player to go for. It could be a Milenkovic, or it could be a Benoit Badiashile out in that left centre back role. We can go either way with that, but I don't know why we're not actively going for another centre back, but hopefully that will change. Some more reports on Nicolo Zaniolo. Ryan Taylor of Express Sport has said that Tottenham remain hopeful of securing a deal for Zaniolo, and to be honest, apart from that Gary Jacob report, there's nothing from the last couple of days that is overly reliable. Romano hasn't said anything, Alistair Gold, Dan Kilpatrick, Matt Law, Charlie Eccleshare, Jack Pipbrook. There seems to be a radio silence across the more reliable sources on this one, and it is a lot of this is coming out of Italy, which kind of fairly similar to the Clement Longley deal, in that there was a lot coming out of Spain and it was kind of fairly silent on the English side of the media, and then all of a sudden it was a deal done. But I'm not sure the Zaniolo one will move in the same direction. Corriere dello Sport, going completely against the grain in what Gary Jacobs said. They've told us that Tottenham had reached a deal with Roma for Nicolo Zaniolo on loan with a €50 million obligation. Jose Mourinho's intervention has persuaded the player to stay after demanding a straight sale for €50 million, which is not viable for Spurs. He could be set to sign a new deal with Roma. Gazzetta dello Sport also in Italy saying that Tottenham are pushing, but their opening bid has been rejected. We offered a loan with a 40 million obligation to buy, which could become mandatory. But Roma want a 10 million loan fee and a 50 million option. Excuse me. So, or bid there, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, is 40 million altogether, whereas Roma want an extra 10 million now and an extra 10 million in a year's time, which is a total of 60 million. And I just don't think that's an amount that Tottenham should be paying with his injury history and with the fact that he's never played in England before. So we'll have to wait and see where this one goes. Sean Walsh of 90 Minutes, again, I wouldn't get excited in any way about a report from Walsh, but he says that Roma have rejected an offer from Tottenham to sign Zaniolo on loan with an obligation to buy for 25 plus 10 in add-ons. That's euro. He says as well that Roma want 50 million to sanction a sale, but Tottenham are wary of his injury record and wants to see how he copes with a year in the Premier League. And that, I think, if that is the reason that Tottenham are going for a loan more than financial reasons, I think that makes very, very good sense, because it's such a big risk all the time bringing in players from leagues in different countries, to whether or not they're actually going to adapt in the Premier League, how long they need to adapt. And the simple fact is, if they don't adapt in their first year, if they don't adapt in their second year, that doesn't mean it's not going to work out. And the perfect example is Jose Mourinho going into Chelsea almost a decade ago and immediately deciding that Kevin De Bruyne should go to Wolfsburg. Look at him now, and even from a Tottenham perspective, if we'd had our way, Heung-min Son would have left us after the first year, but we gave him that time, and best decision we've ever made, to be honest. But if we want that loan to see how he holds up physically in the Premier League as well, I think that makes sense from Spurs. Another report from Ilario Radio, haven't heard of them, but they say that Tottenham are pushing hard to sign Zaniolo. Antonio Conte has personally requested him. Jose Mourinho has objected to his sale. Paratici is talking to Roma, and a deadline for the deal has been set, which is this weekend. Ryan, good to see you, my friend. And look, just to give my quick thoughts on the Zaniolo deal, I don't think he's going to be a Spurs player, and I think he's the type of player that we need to bring in. We need added creativity in the team. I know we have Dejan Kulusevski, who is possibly the best young player in the Premier League at the moment. We have Harry Kane, who's been an assist king in the last couple of years. That combination with Son is priceless to us. Bentancur has that ability to create from midfield. I think Basuma's ball playing skills are underrated, but we don't have someone whose sole job is to create opportunities, whose sole job is to pick up that ball in dangerous areas in the middle of the pitch and to make things happen. And look, to be honest, we're not going to need that in every game. If we play a Manchester City, if we play a Liverpool, if we play a Chelsea, I don't want a number 10 in there. I want 3 quick players on the shoulder trying to catch them out in the counter-attack every time. But at the moment, that at times is the only option we really have. We need to be able to rotate a little bit. We need to be able to switch things up. And that might not be typical Antonio Conte style, but typical Antonio Conte style is to have multiple 50, 60, 70 million pound players. Antonio Conte's style is to go into teams who already have a title-winning squad and just make things happen with that. At Spurs, he doesn't have that. At Spurs, he has a squad that is, for me, comfortably the third best in the league, but is nowhere near Manchester City and Liverpool. And for what we lack in quality in our starting 11, we need to make up for in depth, and we need to make up for in being unpredictable and being able to switch things up and play different styles and different formations. I think a player like Zaniolo helps that. Not him in particular, but a player in that position. James Maddison would have done the same, but I'm not sure how Tottenham are going to fare in trying to get that done this window. Onto Memphis Depay before we move to departures. It's been a constant battle, really, between Fabrizio Romano and Gerard Romero in this transfer window on Tottenham's interest or lack thereof in Memphis Depay. And it was back in April when Romero first claimed that Tottenham had actually made a bid for Depay, and he said again that Tottenham are in the race to sign Depay on a free transfer alongside Juventus. However, Romano quickly came out and said Tottenham are not interested. He's been told there are no talks as things stand, with Juventus currently the favourites to sign Memphis Depay. And again, I that's one I don't think will happen. Ethelson, good to see you. We've got Nick Lazier in the chat, says if Conte wants him and Don Fabio is working on him, then he's coming to Spurs, end of. And look, I share your confidence in the team we have right there, but I don't think they're going to overpay. I don't think they're going to buy a player. There were a report I forget who it was from, but a report that said Tottenham absolutely want another striker or another forward option, which I think Zaniolo kind of fits in that bracket, but they're not going to get one for the sake of it. And I respect that. I'd rather we operated in that way. Christopher also says, I believe if we're to get Zaniolo, he would be a rotation option with Decky, with Richarlison being that rotation option with Son and Kane, as both of them can't play every minute available. I agree with you on that, Christopher. I think that's a good point. But on to departures, and one that's really heated up in the last day or two, and one that I think will be completed in the next 24 to 48 hours, is this man, pointing at himself, waving goodbye. Giovani Lo Celso looks set to join Villarreal on what will be, for me, disappointingly, another loan deal perhaps with no option to buy, but we'll get into that in a second. Fabrizio Romano has said that Villarreal are pushing to sign Lo Celso as soon as possible, while Fiorentina will try to enter the race until the end as he's top priority for their manager Vincenzo Italiano. And I had a whole bit prepared for where he'd work out better. Should he go Fiorentina? Should he go to Villarreal? What would be the best for him? But a couple of hours ago, the Fiorentina director, Paratici, said that we are no longer going for Gio Lo Celso. There's nothing done with Tottenham. So Fiorentina have pulled out of the race to sign the Argentine, and that would lead me to believe that it's because a deal is very close with Villarreal. And Romano has said that Lo Celso to the Yellow Submarine is well advanced. Fiorentina are now out of the race, as according to their director, Paratici. Now a report in the last couple of days from Sky Sports in Italy, which again I was going to talk about. They said that Fiorentina are growing increasingly confident that they can sign him, and while that part has perhaps proven to be untrue, it's the second part of the deal that I think is the reason why we're sitting here on the 10th of August and Giovani Lo Celso is still a Tottenham player, and the reason that Tottenham do seem willing to accept a deal with no option or obligation to buy, and that is that Villarreal's interest in Lo Celso has been held up by La Liga Fair Play. So maybe it's not just Barcelona who are in financial trouble over in Spain. There's we were told earlier today that Real Betis have actually sold some of their TV rights in a similar move to Barcelona to be able to free up some funds to spend in this transfer window. It could be just taking over Spain, the lack of money, the financial issues, and maybe that is why this one is dragged on. And look, personally, I was hoping this was dragging on because maybe Tottenham were trying to get something done behind the scenes, trying to get a swap deal for Pau Torres or for Pervis Estupiñán. That was before we completed that deal for Udogie, but it could just be Villarreal do not have the money. Excuse me again. From the Villarreal side, Gaston Adul has said that Lo Celso is about to be a Villarreal player. Now that was 2 days ago, so perhaps a bit premature, but it looks as though he ultimately will be right on that. Cesar Luis Merlo said a couple of days ago that Villarreal and Tottenham are at the final stages for Lo Celso loan for 1 year with an option to buy, which could be mandatory. However, he said today that Lo Celso is still getting closer to joining Villarreal, but Tottenham are no longer requesting an obligation to buy. The deal may not include an option to buy either, so as to allow other clubs to bid when the loan ends. So maybe Villarreal just protecting their own brand, their own identity there by having their own journalist kind of spin that it could be to allow other clubs to bid. It could be Tottenham trying to force a bidding war in 12 months' time, hoping he has a good loan spell at Villarreal, but it could just be they don't have the money to commit to spending 15 to 20 million pounds on the player in 12 months' time. There's a few other bits there that I had taken down to mention, but they kind of depend on Fiorentina. Just two that I can say. Matteo Moretto said that Lo Celso wants to sign for Villarreal at all costs. His return is imminent. Yesterday, I think he was the one that actually revealed they were discussing a simple loan with no option to buy. Alfredo Padula also said that Lo Celso is getting closer to the Spanish club, who have been given the green light by the Spurs midfielder after they relaunched their bid to sign him yesterday evening. So this one in the last 24 hours has really progressed, and it's one that looks set to be completed. And Lo Celso might not be the only Spurs player on the way to Villarreal. He'll be joining up with Etienne Capoue, Juan Foyt, Serge Aurier. Is he still there? And I feel like there's another one. But he could be joined by Tanguy Ndombele, who finally is attracting interest from some clubs. And Fabrizio Romano has said that Napoli are among the clubs interested in Tanguy Ndombele. Villarreal are also discussing a deal for him with Spurs, and again, that could be another reason why Lo Celso's move to Unai Emery's side has been held up. But they have been talking with Spurs about a deal for Ndombele. Demarzio, given a bit more detail on Napoli's interest, has said that they have made Tottenham midfielder Ndombele a transfer target in the event that Fabian Ruiz leaves the club. Sky Sports in Italy saying the same, that they're considering a move should they need to replace Ruiz. Xavi Jorquera from the Villarreal side has said that they're already negotiating with Tottenham for the transfer of Ndombele. It's speeding up so fast. And Luca Marchetti from Italy also saying that Ndombele to Napoli is a possibility. So we could end up with something of a bidding war for Ndombele. He could actually end up with a choice, with a decision to make. I just think whether he goes to Villarreal, whether he goes to Napoli, if he goes to PSG, or if he goes to Stockport County, wherever he ends up, Tottenham will have to pay some of his money, some of his wages, and that to me is just it's not the worst case. Obviously, worst case scenario is we have to keep him, but it's just disappointing that we won't be able to get rid of him completely. Not now, and probably not for a couple of years, to be honest. But as long as he is out of the squad. We know the toxicity that he brought into that dressing room. We know how much it improved when he left. Same with Lo Celso. So it's a good thing if he's getting out of our squad anyway. On Bryan Hill and his future, we had kind of heard earlier in the window that there could potentially be a permanent move for Bryan Hill, but right now it's looking like it will be a loan and potentially back to Valencia. Fabrizio Romano said that Valencia are in talks for Bryan Hill, but there's no green light from Tottenham yet. It continues to be an open race. He also says that Real Sociedad asked for Hill on loan a few days ago, but Tottenham have not reached a full agreement with any club yet. Mateo Moretto also saying that Valencia want to close the loan of Bryan Hill from Tottenham as soon as possible. He's their number one target to replace the Wolves-bound Gonçalo Guedes. Hector Gomez says that Valencia are in advanced negotiations for Hill, and Diario AS say that Valencia have started negotiations to sign Bryan Hill from Tottenham on loan for another season. I apologise, I got an itch in my throat. Another player who could be on his way to Valencia, and it's a player that we kind of thought we could just be stuck with for another year, because so many Premier League teams have been mentioned as interested in Harry Winks, from Everton to Leicester to Southampton to Crystal Palace. But Diario AS have said that, well, first of all, Valencia are trying to sign Arthur Melo, but financially a deal is very difficult. And to give a bit more context on that one, Michele Crisciello from Sport Italia has said that Valencia are far from signing Arthur Melo, as they can only pay 25% of his salary. So if that one doesn't go through, Diario AS has said that second on their list is Harry Winks, who's been waiting weeks to join and rejecting other offers. Now, he says that Winks was called by Sampdoria, who were also interested in Bryan Hill, but Winks turned them down. He rejected them to wait for Valencia, and he could now be getting his move. They also say that Tottenham are willing to loan him out with no buy clause. So again, just wanting to get him out of the squad for a year and to give us the best chance to have that positive atmosphere within that dressing room. As Charles says, 480 watching and only 112 likes. Please do smash that like button and subscribe while you were down there. Some other two other reports from Leicester/unknown reliability reports. Calcio Mercato have said that AC Milan and Roma both offered Tottenham a loan with the right to buy Japhet Tanganga at just over 20 million. However, Spurs want an obligation to buy. Talks could continue until the final days of the window. And Football Italia have said that AC Milan are discussing a potential formula for a deal to sign Tottenham midfielder Pape Matar Sarr, who I think, with the longer this goes on, I think he could maybe end up in Tottenham squad for the season. THFC Till I Die, welcome to the Champions League membership club. Absolutely fantastic from you. Do you know what? We've had Champions League membership club here for a while, and this is probably the first one we've got as a Champions League club. So I appreciate that, THFC Till I Die. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the perks that come with that. That's pretty much the transfer side of things. I just want to talk quickly about a story from Matt Law and the effect and the impact and the importance of Fabio Paratici at Spurs since he came in. And the amazing bit for me, Matt Law said that some sources within Tottenham are adamant that Fabio Paratici would not still be at Tottenham if the club had failed to appoint Antonio Conte in November. Now, I don't know if that is the club getting rid of Paratici because of the failure that was Nuno Espirito Santo, or if it's Paratici walking away, realising he can't do at this club what he needs to do. Conte coming in completely changed that. Law also says that Paratici had a phenomenal impact on keeping Harry Kane at Tottenham last summer, as we knew, but he revealed that Paratici told Kane that City's only bid of £85 million plus £15 million in add-ons was not one that demonstrated a realistic desire to sign him, and it's a typical City move. It's the reason they didn't get Marco Correa this summer, because they bid low for a player, accused the parent club of holding him hostage, and then hope that something will happen. But just like Spurs last summer, Brighton held strong this summer. Brighton got the money they wanted. Spurs got to keep the player as they wanted. Matt Law also says that it is now very possible the striker will sign a new contract. Rumours that Kane, Dyer, and Conte, and I think one more player whose name I can't remember, could potentially sign a new contract. Matt Law also says that last summer Fabio Paratici introduced a Tottenham Hotspur branded bus and the players wearing suits to matches to help change the club's perception. Paratici told the club these changes would show Tottenham very much mean business. I'm not quite sure what that does. I'm not quite sure how it helps, but who am I to question Don Fabio Paratici? He is a living legend. And look, that's pretty much it from our stream today. That's not pretty much it. That is it. A lot to talk about there in the outgoings, and on Zaniolo as well. Just a reminder that Tottenham have had a loan offer with a £20 million obligation to buy rejected for Zaniolo. That is according to Gary Jacob. If you have enjoyed this stream, please do make sure to hit that like button down below. We are on 150 with over 500 watching, so let's get that number up to 200. I'm sure that you can. The poll that I said, do you think Tottenham wants Zaniolo as a cam left wing or right wing back? 62% said centre attacking midfielder, 32% said right wing, and 7% said right wing back. THFC Till I Die with Super Chat. Again, thank you very much for that. Says Maddie, how impressed have you been with the Don since he came to Tottenham, and do you agree that the January and summer windows have been very successful? I can't say enough good things about Paratici. I really can't. And I understand some people's reluctance to jump the gun because we've had so much promise before. We've had so much excitement about someone at the club that hasn't quite worked out. But from top to bottom, the entire way through the club, Fabio Paratici has transformed things. From bringing in Gianni Vio as a set-piece specialist, bringing in Greta Steinson and Andy Goldbergs. He brought in someone from Rangers. I forget all the names, but he brought in a lot of people on the board. He's made some fantastic signings in Christian Romero, Rodrigo Bentancur, and Dejan Kulusevski that without him don't happen. He's brought in Antonio Conte. He's gotten Daniel Levy to take a step back. He's gotten him to invest £150 million. You know, there's even more of that Matt Law story talking about his effect on the medical team and the chefs in the training ground. He has transformed this club top to bottom. He did it at Juventus, and he's doing it now with us. And I've been so impressed, and I really think he has a very long future at Spurs. And like I said on Twitter, dramatically as I always do, with someone like Fabio Paratici, you don't lose him the day he leaves. You lose him the day his legacy leaves. And I think it could be a very long legacy that he has at Spurs. Even if he's only here for 3 or 4 years, he's a workaholic. He changes everything for the better. And Tottenham are going to be reaping the rewards of that for quite a while, in my opinion. But thank you very much for the super chat. We will wrap it up there. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. We've had over 1,200 of you, over 460 still watching. Again, like, subscribe, comment, share. Follow me on Twitter at MattHayesTHFC. Follow me on TikTok as well. I just upload clips of this and really bad edits, to be honest. But look, it's another place to follow me, so I'd appreciate it if you did. But from me, for now, and as always, thank you so much for watching.